More adults are living with their parents now than at any point since the Great Depression, and 1 out of 3 adults between the ages of 18 and 34 still live at home. But honestly, can we blame them? Welcome back to the channel where we talk all things money, the good and the bad. I would love to have you. Let's get into it.
I'm 28 years old and I just moved back in with my mom and dad in their house. So I'm going to tell you guys why and talk on going backwards in your 20s. Some might ask, why did you move back after living on your own for 5 years and having a nice 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment to live in a little room that you do not fit in? Society definitely puts time limits and expectations on people that I don't believe in anymore. I did for a long time, and I feel like that's why I stayed living out on my own, because I felt like it would be going against everything to move back in with my parents. I also felt like it was going to make me look less accomplished if I said I lived out on my own for so long to just go back to my parents' house. But if I listened to the world's rules, then I would already be married right now with kids. That's not happening. I feel like this world pushes that you're less of a person if you don't do the steps that they tell you to do, and that is completely false. I think if we all took the pressure off of what you had to be by a certain age, we would all be less stressed and more at peace and more happy. When I tell y'all, I have not been this happy in such a long time by just listening to myself and God, not listening to whatever the world says I need to be. Everyone has their own timelines. Everyone has their own lifespans. They're not designed to be the same. We're comparing ourselves to everyone else. So unrealistic to compare yourself to people who have bought houses at such young ages in the past, because the past is not the present. My parents bought their house for $150,000. Today, their house is going for $600,000. I personally can't afford to have my own house right now, so I might as well live in my parents and help my family. I'm looking at this like a slingshot. I'm taking myself backwards to launch myself forward, and just by living here for the few months that I have, I've already saved thousands of dollars. I'm finally going to tell you guys though why I moved back in and what had happened that led me to this point. I know you guys have asked and I've avoided, so I'll tell you now. As you guys know, I lived in a garage apartment and I moved into it in February of 2023, which means my lease was officially up February 2024. I felt so strongly when it was time to re-sign my lease that God told me, do not do that. I have better for you. Trust me. Did I trust him? No, hand me those papers, girl. We're signing. Yeah, I went against him and I signed another 6 months. Mental health at that point was already on the floor. So I don't think staying alone and being by myself 24/7 helped that at all. It didn't. There would be days, 24-hour span, where I wouldn't even open my mouth to talk. The way that I just watched myself declining that whole time because I was too stubborn. There is no such thing as going backwards, because every single day you are evolving with age. Being in an apartment all day and not seeing life because I couldn't afford to was just hurting me. I feel like things had to get really bad in order for me to realize what was best for me. But also I did mention I woke up in the middle of the night and I left my apartment and I haven't been back since. Something terrifying did happen multiple times in my old apartment. Thankful that they did, because if it didn't happen that way, then I would still be stuck there. And I was still stuck in contract, so I was paying all my apartment's rent and I had to pay rent here. It's just my morals and my respect. Chose to pay rent here because I'm not gonna take up somebody's space and not give them anything. My grandma had just passed away as well in June, and I feel like this was the perfect time for me to ground myself again with my family. Plus, you guys don't understand like how nice it's been that if I want to have a conversation, I have 5 individuals living with me. And if I'm feeling bored, my family and I were like this. So I just get to go sit on their bed and hang out with them. I literally feel like I'm a kid again. Home cooked meals, have to be home by a certain time so my parents don't freak out. And we're collecting plushies. If you have been struggling or going back and forth and trying to figure out what the right choices are for you, pray about it. Ask God to show you. Ask yourself and stop listening to everybody else. Only you know yourself and the right choices for yourself.
All right, I'll be the one to say it. Moving back in with your parents in your 20s is a superpower if you do it correctly. And this is coming from somebody who was so embarrassed that they had to move back in with their parents after they finished their MBA, was in so much fucking debt, couldn't afford my rent anymore. I'm on the phone with my mom crying, saying, "Mom, is it okay if I move back into the house?" That's where I was at. I'm gonna preface this by saying I know that not everybody has this opportunity. Not everybody has the chance to move back in with their parents, but that's what it is, a fucking opportunity. If you can get a warm meal and maybe less rent or no rent while you're in your 20s and you're trying to stack up, trying to build your businesses, it is a fucking opportunity. Right around the time that I was moving back in with my parents, I had a buddy of mine who was a little bit older. I'd called him up. He'd been living with his parents for a while. He seemed to be loving it. He was partying all the time still, didn't have to pay rent, got free food, smoking pot every single day, but he's done nothing with his life. And I saw that and I said, I want something different from this. I saw it as an opportunity to keep my expenses low, to hunker down for a couple months, a year, however long it would take to build something that would allow me the opportunity to not only move out, but take care of my family and give back to them, to tell them thank you. And so everybody gets embarrassed about it. They talk shit online. I had friends that were making fun of me. Oh, you're 25, you're still at your mom's house? Motherfucker, I was 25 at my mom's house and I owned 20 properties. I became a millionaire in this tiny ass bedroom, and then I retired my parents, all because they gave me the opportunity to move back in with them, and I took it. I seized the opportunity. So if you're hearing this and this is you're at your parents' house and you're not doing anything, lock the fuck in. This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
I'm turning 29 this year and I'm moving back in with my parents. Let's talk about it. I've been living completely on my own since I turned 25. No roommates for the last 4 years. Really be able to appreciate things a little differently when you have to afford everything on your own. Now, don't get me wrong, I can afford living on my own, but the closer I get to 30, the more and more I want to stop renting and start owning. Let's be honest, in this economy, that is not the easiest thing. Paying rent completely on your own while simultaneously trying to save up for a down payment on a house simply just is not working for me. Now, is it possible? Sure. But my thought is if I move in with my parents for the next year and save up the $1,500 I've been paying for rent every month, I will be able to buy a house, hopefully by the time I'm 30. I wanted to kind of destigmatize that because I remember when I was in my early 20s being so desperate to move out of my parents' house, and everybody always told me, like, girl, stay as long as you possibly can. It's brutal out in the real world. But it's one of those things that no matter how many people told me, I don't think I was really going to understand until I actually experienced it myself. Again, don't get me wrong. I do think living alone is something everyone should experience. It's so freeing. It really gives you such a sense of self and independence. It's been great for my personal development and making me appreciate things completely differently. I'm actually going to really miss this chapter of life. Even though at first I felt a little bit like I was going backwards in life by moving back in with my parents, I'm starting to see it as such a blessing that I have the relationship with them that I do, to where this even is an option for me and I can fast track those savings.
40 with 4 kids, moving back in with my parents. I get it, sis. I get it. You know I do. So here's the thing that I had to be honest with myself on is, I would say 3 things. 3 things with me moving home. First, I had to, for me, find my humbleness. I had to be okay mentally, not worrying about what anyone said, anyone was thinking. I was dating this guy, and his opinion started coming back in my head, and he was like, I would never, and blah, blah, blah. Well, number one, I can't worry about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, because you're definitely not sending the coins to get me someplace else. That was number one. Number two, I'm blessed, as you are as well, that we have someone that allows us to come back. The comments have been coming in, and I appreciate them. And another one of my guy friends' mom just recently passed away, and I get it. He don't have that opportunity. Even if he wanted to go home to his mama, he can't because she's not there. So that's the first thing. Once I got out of my own way and realized that, hey, end of the day, I appreciate having my parents to be able to go home to. So I nobody else is going to, if they weren't paying the bills, as I think it was that said, Jill Scott said, if you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do. So that was the first thing. The second thing I ended up having to do was make a list. Again, I made a list of good reasons to go home, bad reasons to go home. My good outweighed it for me. My kids, I was working overnight. My kids would have somebody to be there with them. Their dad was not going to do that for me. I was going to be able to have someone to allow me to get on my feet while I am trying to save, because that's hard in itself. Because at the point, how am I going to save when I'm having to consistently pay out? Again, I was living in an Airbnb, so I was still having to pay money, but how was I saving with that? So that was 2. I made the list. And the third thing of what I did was I literally have a plan. And I haven't really shared it, but I said I was going to because it's part of the journey. I have a plan. And I had to understand with my plan, I got to work my plan. Yes, I have a job, but I also know that I have to use other multiple streams of income. So therefore, the business that I did have at one point that I put down, I picked it back up. I do other little side hustles on the side. I do other little things on the side to help to give me more income coming in. So now that I have a plan, okay, so that's to help financially have a little bit more. Then the next plan that I had to come up with, okay, how are we going to save? Opened up a savings account, allowed my job to put money into a savings account for us. They match it. Okay, great. So now I have some money flow coming in, because that was the hindrance for me was the money. Then from there, let me go ahead and fight this eviction, clean up my credit while I'm there. It doesn't take as long as we think when it comes down to the credit. It's me actually having to put the work in to do it. So once I was able to humble myself and not worry about nobody's opinion, I was able to write out my list of good, bad, and indifferent. And then I was able to go ahead and make a plan with an actual date. That's key. I had to speak it into existence and have a physical date of when I need to be done. I have a soft date and I have you've been here too long. Let's wrap this up. Now, mind you, again, my parents are like, and I had a conversation with my dad as we're getting ready to move over this week. He was like, you my child. If you want to go, you want to come, you can come. We never said you couldn't. And I admit that to people. My parents never told me and my kids couldn't come. I made the decision that I didn't want to go home. That was my pride. So sis, I'm going to tell you, do the first step. Don't worry about nobody else's opinion. And then humble yourself if you need to. And then lastly, write that list out. Good, bad, indifferent. See which way's out. That's what I would do. And I'm 43, so we right up in that same range, but I get it. I knew it might be a little stressful. I knew it may drain me because I've been out of my parents' house since I was 19. I left at 19. And I've been on my own since 19. And so me having to go backwards and have the kids, it was a knife. But I had to get past it. So let me know. Like, again, I'm journaling this. I'm using this as my accountability to myself. But listen, we'll figure it out together.
I'm 35 years old and me and my husband are moving back in with my parents. And I want to fucking talk about it. Me and my husband have been in survival mode for 3 or more years. It's basically been one of us has a great steady job and the other one somehow manages to lose their job. And right now it's my turn. And this is the longest I've gone in our relationship without steady income. And it is massively impacting us. The economy is just getting worse. You cannot survive on one income. I have hit what I would consider a paper ceiling, which basically means no one wants to hire me entry level because they want someone moldable who's never worked in these industries, right? So I have my property and casualty license. I have my Series 7. I have my Series 63. And I have 15 years of experience in these industries. They don't want me, but I also can't move up. I can't move up to a better position because I don't have any of the credentials. I have management experience, but I don't have a degree. So I am going back to school for at least the next 2 years. And for the next 2 years, we are going to combine resources with my parents to make it work. And we have to swallow our pride and we have to get this help because otherwise we are not going to have anything. Let me tell you this. I know how fucking privileged I am to be able to say that I'm doing this and that I'm making this decision. And I will tell you this as well. If we didn't have my parents, we would have no one and nothing. Like, we would have nowhere to go. We would probably be on the streets with the amount of help that me and, like, my mom has given us. Now, on the flip side, my dad is retired. He's now on a fixed income. You don't really realize how impactful that is. Like, you hear fixed income your whole life until one of your parents is on one. Now, my parents don't need the help, but they could definitely use the help. At this point, we are getting gouged by our electric company. Like, our electric has been turned off 3 times since December, even though we've paid them within the past 5 months $1,700. Our electric getting turned off last week is what spurred this. Because how could 2 households be paying $3,000 over the course of 6 months for infrastructure that's already there? Please don't be ashamed if you have this option. I think that it would be wise for a lot of people to take it. And there are a lot of cultures that have generational homes. And our culture, white people, have forced us all to believe that we need to get out on our own, have all our own shit, and basically live completely separate from one another. And it's not fucking realistic anymore. It doesn't make sense anymore. Why the fuck would we keep 2 households running on money that we barely even have? I just think that at this point, nothing's going to get better at this stage. So if you have anyone that you can combine resources with, do it. Because I'm in a generation that me and my husband on our own will never be able to buy a house. And I know that. And some of that might be self-inflicted. And some of that is just the fucking world. Everything is predatory towards the people who need help the most. Late fees, and everything go to the people who don't have money. You don't pay your phone bill, they charge you a $70 late fee. If I had the money, don't you think I would have paid it?
When we look at the numbers, it's kind of crazy. Living with your parents is the most popular living arrangements for young adults in the US right now, and roughly 18% of adults between the ages of 25 and 34 still live with their parents. Not 18 to 24, you guys, 25 to 34. Like, that is crazy. Something I found really interesting is that there's more men living with their parents now than women in those age groups. That was really interesting.
So, on December 9th, I got on here and I told y'all my business. So, those who don't know, I'm 33 years old. I've been living with my parents for almost a year. At that time, I had $400 in my savings account. Now, I did go on to make a couple other videos to explain to y'all why that was the case. And, you know, I did make some strides as far as like repairing my credit, as well as, you know, I was paying for school tuition and all that other shit, you know. I'm here to report I got $1,600 in that motherfucker right now. And I know that's not like a lot to motherfuckers. To nobody. To be for real with you, $1,600 is enough for an emergency. But I'm proud as fuck right now. Like, this shit is the most gangster shit I've ever done in my life. I made the sacrifice my space, sacrifice my motherfucking mental stability. Not even mental stability, just my ego. By moving back home with my parents to save money. Y'all killed me when I said I only had $400 saved after 10 months. Y'all killed me. You know what I'm saying? In a month's time, bro, I've done that quadruple. I've quadrupled my savings account in 1 month's time. A little bit over, like 1 month and a week or so. You know what I'm saying? So I'm making this video to say, yo, this shit is a motherfucking marathon, not a sprint. Where you at right now does not determine your motherfucking outcome, and it's not over till it's over. You feel me? Like, I want anybody that's out there, them young dudes that's going through life right now, that's having issues, you know what I'm saying? Listen, do what you gotta do. Stick to the plan. It's gonna be uncomfortable for a while. You're gonna stumble. You're not gonna be perfect in your grind, you know what I'm saying? But you stick to the fucking plan, bro. This shit is gonna come easy, bro. It's not easy though, but it's gonna come. I'm not gonna say it's gonna come easy, but if you stick to the plan, it's going to happen as long as you stay locked in. The bottom line is the bottom line for me. It's always gonna be that. I'm just happy to be able to report, you know what I'm saying, a month and a half later, my progress, and I can't wait to see where I'm at in another month, y'all.
I'm 31 years old and I still live with my parents, and for a couple years now it's been something I've been really conflicted about. You know, I didn't go to school until I was in my late 20s, and up until recently I haven't had a job that could support me financially, and you know, it just sucked because I would see my friends moving out, my brother and sister, even people on social media that are like 23 years old are doing great things, and I just kept thinking like, why can't I do that? You know, why do I feel so stuck? Lately I've been trying to focus on the positive. You know, I have a really supportive family. I have parents that are honestly my best friends, and I have still an opportunity to do great things. Now that I have a steady job, I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can start thinking about the future. And yeah, you know, I'm not where I wanted to be when I was 31 years old, but that's okay. I just think it's not a good mentality for me anymore to live with all this regret. Instead, I need to put my energy into the future and, you know, what I can do. And I know I've just been posting these rants, but I feel better after because all you guys are so supportive, and I feel like a lot of us are in the same position and no one really talks about it because I don't really talk about it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're all on our own path and timeline, and there's no real right way of doing things, but you know, to own your story because it's worth celebrating, and I'm trying to own mine. So let me know if you guys feel the same way, but yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and yeah, I'll catch you guys later. All right, bye.
Pros and cons of living with your parents in your 20s. Let's talk about it. I am 28 years old. I have lived on my own for years now. I lived in California for 5 years, and then I moved back last year to the East Coast. So we're finally at the point where, you know, we're counting down the weeks until we're finally moving out and about to get married. And I wanted to discuss the pros and cons after one full year, over a year of living with my mom. This is just my experience, so everybody's family dynamic is going to be different. Obviously, some people have it better than others. My mom and I are pretty close. However, with that closeness comes a lot of, you get too comfortable and you feel like you can say certain things and people act a certain way and all that jazz. So it is just me and my mom and her 4 cats, and my dog has to stay with his parents, so that's why we're split up time, because he can't live with cats. So it's a whole big debacle. Let's start with the pros. The first pro is time with your family. I have been trying to remind myself and cherish this time that I have with my mom, because I'm never gonna probably live with her ever again, and I mean, you never know down the line, but at least for the foreseeable future, this is like the last time that I'm ever really going to do this. So I'm trying to soak up all the time that I have with her and really cherish living at home and spending time with the people that I love the most. Next very obvious pro is no rent or bills. Obviously this is my experience. Some people's parents charge them rent, but I don't. I pay for her phone bill, pay for the groceries, but besides that, you know, her mortgage is paid off, she's retired, so like, you know, there's not really much that she doesn't really have bills, so I don't really have bills. The next one is someone cooks for you. This is really nice. You can be like, Ma, can you make some coffee? Ma, can you make some eggs? I'll like come home from the gym and I'm on my way home and I'll call her up and be like, hey, can you boil me a couple hard-boiled eggs so I can have a snack after the gym? This is really nice, very convenient. Definitely a plus. Also, along with cooks, you know, cleans, does laundry. My mom will not let me do laundry. Like, she will do my laundry, which has been amazing because I hate doing laundry. So honestly, I'm so incredibly grateful for that. With that though, she has dyed some of my sweatshirts like different colors and, you know, shrunk some things. And I can't complain because then it's like, do your own laundry, bro. Next is feeling like a kid and nostalgia. It's so nostalgic being in my old high school room. Like, it's just a weird feeling, but it really makes you kind of like revert to childhood. And my fiance is feeling this too, where he's like, I feel like a kid, and like your parents do everything for you and like all of that. Where when you look at it from a positive standpoint, it's like, wow, like, you know, I'm reliving my childhood. I'm kind of like healing old childhood wounds, and like, I don't know, it is weird. It's very nostalgic, especially after living in a big city across the country for so long. Like, it is fun and like kind of cool to come back. Next is that I'm able to save a ton of money. Every dime that I make is able to go into a savings account, other than obviously the things that I have to pay for and whatnot. But like, I'm not paying rent, I'm not paying bills, my car is paid off. Like, I'm very grateful for this time in my life that I'm able to do this. And lastly, my mom always wants to help. She wants to be there for me. Like, she still kind of treats me like a baby, and like, you know, it's sweet, it's cute. I know that I'm like her youngest and she really cares for me. Let's get on to the cons. First of all, you have no privacy, like, at all. I'll be in the shower, and if I'm in the shower for too long, she'll peek her head and be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm just shaving, I'm doing my everything shower, like, please. Yeah, you're constantly like, I'll be doing my morning routine sitting at the table, like journaling, reading, and then like someone comes downstairs and she has her iPad going with like all of her YouTube videos on, and, you know, talking on the phone, and like, you just don't have privacy. Aside from my personal bedroom, I don't have privacy at all. This also goes into like no privacy with my significant other. Like, as an adult in a relationship, engaged, like, it is really difficult that like you have to make your like romantic schedule based on like when mommy and daddy are gonna be out of the house, and it like actually sucks. Like, that sucks. Another con is that you feel like a kid again. Like, you actually feel like a child, where like there's rules and you just feel like not an adult. Like, I don't have like my own kitchen, I don't have my own cabinets where to put stuff. My stuff is everywhere. Like, I just feel all over the place and disorganized, and just like I'm a little kid. Along with that is like having to follow somebody else's rules and like adjust to their life and their schedule and their home, because it is their home. Like, as much as my mom is very selfless and she obviously is always like, this is your home, you know, blah blah blah, it's been her home even while I was away. Like, this is her home, and I'm still not a guest in her home, but like, I have to go by her life and her rules because it's her house. It's not my house. I can't make up all the rules and the way we're supposed to do everything. And especially when your parents are older, like, they get really set in their ways, and I just feel like it's pointless, because like, no use arguing, especially over a temporary situation. And lastly, you feel like a big loser. It's hard telling people, and this is so vain and like silly and petty of me, and I've gotten past it because it's just like whatever, especially now that I'm on the other side of it and I'm like about to buy the home. But for the full year where you're like, I've been living in LA for so long, like I've been on my own for so long, I've always been very independent, so has my fiance, and like we're back with our parents, and especially living separate, people just like don't get it, and they think it's like very weird. And you know, it has its ups and downs for sure, like as I've mentioned, and feeling like a loser and feeling like, oh my god, you can't afford to get a place by yourself, or like, you know, people probably think that, and it's like, that couldn't be further from the truth. But we're just doing this to be smart. You get defensive over it, and you're just like, yeah, you feel like a big loser. I want to say, if you're living with your parents, you're not a big loser. Like, I did it. I know plenty of people who have done it, and people who wish that they could have done it and say, damn, like if I had that opportunity, I wish I would have taken it because it would have made life so much easier. We don't come from money. We are fully paying for our wedding and for all things home related by ourselves. So things are so incredibly expensive, not to mention just like life expenses and having a dog and just like, you know, trying to like live your regular life. It is really a lot, and it can get super overwhelming. And so if you can do anything to kind of take that burden off of you, I wasn't about to move back to a little hometown in New England and pay rent somewhere. Like, that just sounded so stupid to me, when like rent is, regardless, it's still expensive. Like, even if it's half the rent that I was paying in LA, then to move all my stuff again and like, you know, whatever, hire movers, all this jazz, like I just wasn't gonna do it. My point here is, if you have the opportunity, I think all things considered, it is still so worth it. Like, it is still so worth it if you are able to live with your parents in your 20s. I wish I did it longer, honestly. No regrets about my life, but I do wish I was able to take advantage of not paying rent longer, because I have thrown away probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on rent. Like, honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach, but a lot of money on rent over the course of many, many years. So yeah, if you can do it, do it. Probably the last chance you'll ever get to do something like this, and it's not that bad. It's really not.
Hey, that period, if you ever have to go from living by yourself to living with your parents again for whatever reason, let's be honest here. We're going to be honest. It's a little bit embarrassing and it's annoying. Hey, I love my parents, but going from peace and quiet to having to hear them screaming, yelling, laughing, farting all the time, it can't be good for your mental health. And they nosy as hell. I couldn't walk in the house without nothing to eat without them saying, hey, what you got? Damn, I should have just ate my shit in the car. Can't put nothing in the refrigerator for you to eat for just yourself. My dad would eat everything. I remember the final straw when I had to get the fuck out. I put a whole watermelon in the refrigerator. Mind you, it's off-peak season, so I had to spend like $15 for it. My dad ate the whole thing and didn't give a damn. But there are good things about living with your parents. Hey, no rent. I was just helping them out just a little bit, but I was able to pay off my credit cards in full, save up a little bit of money, and get my credit right. I did what I needed to do to get the fuck out of there. And I'm sure with the layoffs and this recession probably happening, it's gonna be a lot more people moving back with their parents. And you know what? Do what you gotta do. It's been years for me alone now, but hey, I remember that time with my parents like it was yesterday. I love my parents, but I'ma love them from a distance going forward.
Save your money, cause when you're broke it ain't funny.
Living at home is like literally the most frustrating thing in the world, and like I feel so ungrateful for like the way that I'm feeling, because I know that I'm like lucky that at least I like have a home to go to after I like left my job. Like I'm really lucky, but at the same time like it just contributes to like so much of like a loss in identity and like a loss in independence. Like someone is home all the time and I like don't have any privacy and I like don't have like any like spaces to myself. Coming back to like your childhood bedroom that like is just so not the person you are anymore, and like having all this like random shit and like it's not your space and it doesn't feel like your space anymore. And like side note, like my mom just decided to start renovating like half our house, so now like we're all on one side of the house and like in like another tiny room that's like not mine, and my stuff is everywhere. Not to mention like I don't see my fucking friends anymore. Like I genuinely can't just go like grab a coffee with someone after work or like meet them for lunch. Like I'm just in a different town, like miles and miles away. And don't even get me started on like the fact that you probably can't even date anyone because your parents are like all up in your business and like you've nowhere to like no space to bring them into. And I feel so stupid for complaining about all of this, because like people literally like are homeless and dying, and like I'm complaining about being in my parents' house.
I just saw a girl on here who's 28 living at home with her parents, and she's talking about how great it is and telling everyone that if you can and you are able to both physically and mentally live with your parents, do it. And not forever, but until you saved up enough or you feel ready enough to move out. And I think nowadays it's becoming a lot more common for people in their late 20s, early 30s to be living at home with their parents because rent is so expensive. And it's hard to find jobs if you're in between jobs. And especially if you're single, like there's no one to move in with besides maybe a friend, but it could be all your friends are married or live in other places. And if you are lucky enough to have that option like I was, great. However, if you do not have that option or you did and you are mentally going through it, I also get that. Especially if you don't have a big house. For me personally, sometimes it feels like I'm a kid again, and not in a good way. In a way of lacking privacy, in a way of someone still kind of having control over you a bit, in a way of being an adult with adult opinions and ideas, and those conflicting with the old opinions and ideas of your parents. Sometimes you just want your own space to be able to decorate and control and retreat to when you need a quiet moment that maybe isn't your childhood bedroom. But when you're living at home, you may not ever get that. So is it nice to be at home and save money? 100%. But I also know the mental toll that it takes, and sometimes you just need to move out for your own peace of mind.
It's not an issue if you still live at home with your parents in your 30s. That is what I've learned. Because I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and I was sat on a table with people that I had never met before, and everybody was talking about their family and their home life, and this guy turned to me and he said, "So, are you married? Do you have children? Where do you live?" And for a split second, I thought I could be anybody in the world right now. I could make up this beautiful story of how I have the most amazing house with my husband and my 3 kids and my dog, and I live this beautiful, happy life. And I turned around and I was like, oh, unfortunately, I still live at home with my parents. And they were like, why is that a bad thing? And they all turned around and was like, if we had the chance to still live at home with our parents, 100% we would still do it. And they would actually get on with them. And I was like, yeah, of course, we have a great time. Like, don't get me wrong, it can be hard sometimes. But no, I really get on with them. I like their company. And they were like, so what's the problem? And I was like, oh my God, I had like a little epiphany. And I was like, why am I so worried about the fact that I still live at home with my parents and I'm 31? I was like, do you know what? If a bunch of strangers turn to me and say that they would rather be in my shoes, or it's not an issue and I shouldn't be embarrassed about it, or I shouldn't apologise for it, why am I worried about it myself? So if you're in the same boat as me, don't worry.
I woke up in the best mood this morning, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I still live with my parents, even though I'm 26. You know, at this big age, I know there's a lot of shame in that. Well, I don't feel ashamed, but other people would still shame me for living with my parents, you know? But if I wasn't living with my parents, like, I wouldn't share those like precious little moments every morning that I do with my mom. Like this morning I woke up, I heard that she got up and she was walking down the hallway, and I opened the door and I was like, good morning, Mom. And her face lit up, like her cute little face. She gave me the biggest smile and she was like, hi, good morning. Like, how did you sleep? And it honestly is just like so precious, and it fills my heart with so much joy to see her smile in the morning. And I feel like I wouldn't experience that on the daily if I didn't live with her, and like I wouldn't want it any other way.
Move back in with your parents. Be 30 or 32 and live with your mom. My husband and I moved back in with my mom after 4 months of dating together. It's during the pandemic. We moved in with my mom so we could save some money. We could enjoy our life with no money. Okay? This does not apply if you have a toxic relationship with your parents at all, but my mom and I have a really good working relationship together. And my husband just kind of joined the party, and then we had a kid, and guess what? We had Mimi right at home to offer another set of hands for things like making dinner, or things like holding a baby, or things like waking up early in the morning with a child that gets up at 6:15 and allowing you and your husband to sleep in together. I'm telling you, we have hacked a system. We have hacked a system. My mom's disabled, so she can't take care of the baby while we leave. So there's no babysitting clause. There's no, hey, can you watch her while we go do this? We don't get that perk. We don't get that perk at this point. But what we do get is someone who can stay home with the dogs when we want to go travel. Time apart is really crucial. What we do get is a second person when the other spouse wants to travel. We're a team. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, move back in with your parents if that's healthy for you. You know what I mean?
Hey, you're living with your parents at 30 years old? You know what? That doesn't make you a failure. A lot of people act like moving out is the only sign of success, but life is just not that simple. Because if you're saving money, helping family, or rebuilding, good. But just be real with yourself too. Are you staying because it's strategic or because it's comfortable? I mean, one moves you forward and the other, well, it keeps you stuck. And there's no shame in your situation, but don't let comfort steal your future. Have a plan, take action, and just keep moving forward.
I just want to tell you, if you are living with your parents now, do not feel embarrassed. Please see this as a second opportunity for life. Take this time to pay off your debt, pay off your student loans, start that business that you wanted to start this whole time, learn a new skill. I really think you should just see this as an opportunity. If you don't have to pay your rent for, let's say, a year and your mortgage or your rent is $1,000, like that is $12,000 that you put towards something that can better yourself. Not having credit card debt or student loans or paying off that car, I promise you, if those things are paid off, you feel less stressful. You feel like you can go on with life, a little bit less baggage that you have to carry. In other countries, multi-generational living is a common thing, and I think it's only becoming a common thing now here in America. But let me know, do you think living with your parents in your 30s is a smart decision or embarrassing? Let me down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week.